Have you ever just stopped and wondered how on earth we keep track of every single living thing on our planet? I mean, from the tiniest microbe to the biggest blue whale? Well, let's dive into the absolutely brilliant system scientists use to bring some order to the incredible, beautiful chaos of life.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, scientists have identified over 8.7 million species on Earth. And get this, that number is always growing. We're constantly finding new stuff, especially in places like the deep sea and remote rainforests. It is a staggering amount of life to try and organize.
So, right, with millions and millions of different organisms out there, how do you even begin to study them? How do you keep that sheer number from just being completely overwhelming?
Well, the answer is a really carefully designed system. It's like a grand filing system for all of life, and it's called taxonomy. It's an incredibly powerful way to turn what looks like chaos in nature into logical, understandable groups.
The system we use today really got its start back in the mid-1700s with a Swedish botanist, a guy named Carolus Linnaeus. He saw all this confusion happening. Organisms were being called different things in different places. You know, a robin in North America is a totally different bird from a robin in Europe. So he set out to create one universal method to classify them based on features they shared. And Linnaeus' most brilliant idea, his real game changer, was something called binomial nomenclature. This is the universal two-part naming system we still use. It gives every single species a unique scientific name, which finally put an end to all that confusion over common names that change from place to place.
Okay, so how did that basic idea grow into the system we have now? Well, today we use 8 distinct levels, or ranks, to classify any organism. The best way to think about it is like a funnel, starting off incredibly broad and then getting more and more and more specific with each step you take down. And those 8 ranks are domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. It's really just like a mailing address for a living thing. The domain is the entire country, the kingdom is the state, the phylum is the city, and you keep going, with each rank getting you closer and closer to one specific house on one specific street. So, right at the very top, we have the domain. This is the biggest, most inclusive level, and it's actually a pretty new idea. It was only introduced in 1990 by a scientist named Carl Woese. Every living thing on the entire planet fits into just 3 of these domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya.
Now, take one step down from domain and you get to kingdom, a level you're probably pretty familiar with. Here, organisms are grouped by really fundamental things, like their cell structure or how they get their food. The big ones you've heard of are Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Protista, and Monera.
Before we see this system in action, let's just quickly go over the rules for that 2-part scientific name. They are super simple, but they are strict. The first word, the genus, is always capitalized. The second word, the species, is always lowercase, and both of them are always italicized.
So, how does this all work with a real-world example? Well, there's no better organism to use than us. Let's classify modern humans, who are also known by our scientific name, Homo sapiens. Okay, let's trace our own biological address. We start in the domain Eukaryota. That just means our cells have a nucleus. Then kingdom Animalia, because we eat other things for energy. We're in the phylum Chordata, because we've got a backbone. And class Mammalia, because we have fur and produce milk. Then it gets even more specific with order primates and family Hominidae, until finally we land on our unique identifier, the genus Homo and the species Sapiens. See how it funnels down to just us?
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is just a very, very complex way of making a list. But taxonomy is so much more than that. Its importance goes way beyond just simple organization.
So, why does all this matter? Well, for one, it's the only way we can possibly manage Earth's incredible biodiversity. It also creates a universal language, right? So a scientist in Brazil and a scientist in Japan know they're talking about the exact same organism. And maybe the most important thing is that it shows us the evolutionary relationships between all living things. So if scientists find a new plant that's related to a known medicinal one, they can fast-track the search for new medicines. It's incredibly useful.
At its heart, when you boil it all down, the whole system is about one simple idea: putting organisms into groups based on what they have in common. It's about finding those shared histories to create a picture of the natural world that actually makes sense. And this brings us to a final, pretty amazing thought. This system isn't set in stone. It's a living, breathing science that's always evolving. So the next time you hear about a new species being discovered deep in the ocean or high up in a rainforest canopy, the question to ask yourself is, where is it going to fit on our ever-expanding, incredible tree of life?